StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, especially yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all of this together into one bundle, one podcast, one approach, one mindset, one framework, one way of living, one lifestyle, and a whole lot of other things. We ain't even gonna list them all out right here. One hat. Actually, we got multiple hats, multiple designs. One book. We got multiple books, but one specifically with this topic, all under one umbrella. It's called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today, on the heels of what we just talked about yesterday, 4 things that winners never do, now let's talk about the 4 deadly habits of losers. Just as I told you yesterday, I told you that you need to check yourself against the points that I shared there to make sure that you are not committing any of those crimes against success, crimes against winning. Today I'm going to point out 4 deadly habits of losers, and you need to make sure you don't have any of these habits. I told you in my book, Work on Your Game, that your habits are like your employees, okay? So even if you don't own a business and you don't have anybody working for you right now, maybe you're working for somebody else, understand you have employees. Your habits are your employees, meaning every time you execute one of your habits, most of your habits are unconscious, meaning you don't even realize that you're doing them. That habit is your employee. It is representing your company of you incorporated out to the world, and the results of what your employees produce is the life that you're living right now. So if you look at your life right now, if there's any aspect of your life at which you are not getting the outcomes that you want, that is because some of your employees are not producing the kind of results that you want, meaning you need to either retrain those employees, i.e. fix your habits, or fire those employees, i.e. eliminate a habit. I have a text line where I want you to text me and tell me which of these habits have you been catching yourself doing and you know you need to fix, because it is a habit of a loser, and it's impossible for you to be listening to this show from this host and still be a loser at the same time. That is, there's an incongruency there, so something got to give. Either you got to go or that habit has to go. So tell me what that is. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. I made this episode to offer a counter to the one where I talked about winners, even though the points that I told you there are things that winners never do and things that losers do. So really, I'm just giving you a whole bunch of things that losers do over these last couple of days. Unfortunately, as an athlete, I had to deal with a lot of loser teammates. Now, the unfortunate part of being an athlete in a team sport, if you have losers around you, you can't really kick them out. You know, those 2-day, 2-hour, and 2-minute people, you can't really kick the 2-minute people out because you're not in charge when you're an athlete on a team. Now, you could just limit as much as you talk to them. You don't have to deal with them that much, but they're still in the locker room. They're still on the bus. They still got a uniform on. You still might have to pass them the ball, even though they're a loser. I dealt with some loser teammates, unfortunately. And any of you who plays a team sport, or maybe if you work at a company, there may be some losers working there at the company and you can't get them out of there for whatever reason. Maybe they're just too firmly entrenched. And listen, even in families, I get the messages from people, and text messages, emails over the years. People tell me like, Dre, look, the losers are the people in my family. All right, they live in the same house as me. What am I supposed to do in those situations? You just limit your associations with those people and understand there's a difference between hearing and listening. There's a difference between looking and watching. All right, hearing means you registered the sound. Listening means you're allowing it to, embed itself in your mind. You could just hear something and let it bounce off you. All right, so that's if you have people around you who have these loser traits. Now, I should have said that yesterday as well. Any of these traits, not only are you checking yourself first check yourself, because if you're not good, then you ain't in position to be judging anybody else. But check yourself first, and then after you checked yourself, look around the people you hang with and see if any of them have any of these traits, and you know what you got to do. You either got to help them fix these traits, let them listen to this episode, do it in an indirect way. Don't tell them, hey, listen to this because you got some loser habits. Don't do that. No, it probably won't work. Well, let them just play this out loud when they're around. They'll be like, what is this? Just listen to it. I like this. It was good. Just say that. Or get rid of them. In other words, limit your associations with those people. Those are the choices that you have. But if you do nothing, you're going to become them. So look at them. If you want that life, keep hanging with them. Okay? I never had, and understand that a lot of times when people are in these loser mentalities and they have these loser habits, this often has nothing to do with their level of talent or their actual raw ability in life. Again, coming from sports, I had teammates who were good players. I mean, they could play, but they had loser mentalities. They had loser habits. It wasn't their skills that made them losers. It was the way that they thought. Therefore, they couldn't access all of their skills when we most needed them. because they just didn't have the right mindset. It is always a mental game, folks. So let's get right into it. Again, the topic is the 4 deadly habits of losers. Number 1, losers expect to lose. I mean, this is pretty simple, right? How many people do you know who go into situations expecting to fail, expecting things to not work out, knowing that things are not going to go in their direction, and then things don't go in their direction, and then they feel good because they predicted it. They predicted their own failure, and they feel successful because they did so. So even when things are going well for a loser, they lament when things are going to go bad for them again because they expect to lose. This is what losers do. They expect losing, and they lose. What losers do is climb a mountain, but they don't want to reach the peak of the mountain because they have heard how hard it's going to be once they get to the peak of the mountain. So even though they claim to be working on something, they're self-sabotaging the very work that they're doing at the exact moment that they claim to be going after success. This is what losers do. All right, so many losers are not the people who are just sitting around doing absolutely nothing in life. There are a whole bunch of losers walking around. They may be around you and hanging with you right now who appear to be working towards a worthy ideal, but at the same time, they are doing things to self-sabotage their own success because they don't actually want to achieve it. They want themselves to lose. They basically want to put themselves on a treadmill of looking like they're working hard towards something, but at the same time, messing their own selves up so that they never actually make the progress that they claim to be working towards. This is what a loser does. Any of you know any people like this? Any of you know someone who has had this habit? Maybe it's not their whole life, but they've had this habit in certain areas. The loser is the type of person who, in sports, for example, I would have teammates who at the beginning of the game, they feel good, like, yeah, we got a chance, we're going to do our thing. Then the game starts, the other team scores the first 6 points of the game, and already the loser has the hangdog look on their face. They're already feeling sad. They're already moping around the court. They're already complaining. You can already see the bitching coming across their face, even though they're not saying it. Any of you ever had a teammate like that? I can see it in some of their faces right now as I'm talking about it. This is what a loser does. They might look the part and say all the right things at the beginning, but as soon as things are not going the way that the loser needs things to go, they already start complaining, and they haven't even lost yet, but they're already setting themselves up to lose because this is where they're comfortable at. They're comfortable in a losing situation, so when things start looking like they're going to lose, they feel good. This is their comfort zone, losing. Losers expect to lose. What did I tell you about winners yesterday? Winners expect to win. Why? How? First of all, they see themselves as a winner. That's the being part. Then they do the thing they need to do to win. So what do losers do? They see themselves as a loser. So even while they're doing the thing, as I just explained, they find a way to self-sabotage. Or they find a way to not do the thing they need to do. So then when they get to the having part, they don't get to have anything. And then they lose and they're like, oh, see, I knew it. These are the victims in life. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, the 4 deadly habits of losers. Losers feel more comfortable being a victim than they feel being a conqueror. I just told you about this situation, yesterday's episode. A winner's mentality is despite the fact that I had a setback, despite the fact that somebody's hating on me, despite the fact that this thing got in my way, despite the fact that everything went in the opposite direction of where I wanted it to go yesterday, I'm still going to succeed. I'm still going to find a way. I'm still going to get to the outcome that I want to get to. Why? Because I'm a winner. Because this is who I am as a person, i.e. being. When you change your being, the doing automatically comes with it, folks. In my book, The Mirror of Motivation, I explain this to you. The link is down below in the show notes. It's mirrorofmotivation.com. Losers, on the other hand, would rather be a victim than be a conqueror. In other words, when that situation that causes the winner to say, despite this situation, I'm going to win, the loser says, oh, because of this situation, I'm going to lose. They just choose a different option. They both notice the situation. Winners and losers both notice what's going on. The winner says, I'm going to win anyway. The loser says, oh, this is a convenient excuse for me to lose. This is the difference between winning and losing in life right here. If you put a victim or a loser in the dark, know what the victim does, what the loser does? They lay there in the dark, they shrivel up and die. When I say the dark, I'm referring to any situation that is not the ideal situation, maybe the exact opposite of the ideal, just things not going the way that person wanted them to go. Put a victim in a dark situation, they lay down, shrivel up, and die. That's what happens to them. And then the wolves and the hyenas just eat them alive. Or they might already be dead. You put a conqueror in the dark, you know what they do? They find the light. They find their way out of that cave. They find their way through the situation. Why? Not because the conqueror is more skilled or more resourced than the loser. The reason why the conqueror or winner is able to find their way to the light is because the conqueror or winner sees themselves as a conqueror or winner. You know what conquerors and winners do? You put them in a dark situation, they find a light in that situation. Why? They don't have a choice because that's who they are being as a person. Who you are as a person will automatically be reflected in your actions. If you are a loser, you will find ways to lose no matter how good the situation is set up for you to succeed. If you are a winner, you will find a way to win no matter how terribly the situation is set up for you to lose. This is an absolute fact of human nature. And any of you know anyone who you could show any proof to the contrary of what I just said, show me. I want to know about it. But I know you won't because it doesn't exist. There are no examples that go contrary to that point. Losers subconsciously want to lose. So when you put a loser in a tough situation, they will not try as hard to figure it out. Why? Because they are losers. They want to lose. They want to be in a tough situation, so they give themselves a convenient excuse for failure. This is what losers do. I'm emphasizing these points because I really want you to think about this, and I really want you to check yourself, and I really want you to check the people who you are around and make sure you don't have any of this in your circle. Because if you do, then this is the direction you're headed in. When you put a loser in a tough situation, they won't try as hard to figure it out as a winner would, because the loser has to live up to their self-image of being a loser. So they can't figure it out. They figure it out, then they'd be going against the grain of their own beliefs. Losing is a self-fulfilling prophecy the same way that winning is. Losing is a habit the same way that winning is a habit. You just got to decide which habit do you want to have. And as I told you, your habits are your employees. They work for you. They are your staff. If someone on your staff is not doing their job, fire them. Or if you're working with somebody and you don't do your job, what do? They fire you, right? Or they check you and let you know, like, yo, you need to start doing your job or you won't be working here anymore. And they don't just tolerate you not doing your job. That wouldn't make any sense. They'd be disrespecting their own business to let you make them look bad. So are you gonna let your habits make you look bad? Because they work for you, in case you didn't know. You're the boss, you hired them, you fired them. Or you retrain them, do what you need to do. But never let an employee keep working at your company with your name on it, making you look bad and you not doing anything about it. What sense does that make? That would make you a loser. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, are the 4 deadly habits of losers. Point number 3, losers sabotage their own success. We talked about this a good amount so far, even today and yesterday. Because a loser is comfortable with losing, and it's the only thing they're comfortable with, when you put them in a good space, they find a way to screw it up and make it worse. That's what a loser does. Put a loser somewhere where everything seems to be set up for them to succeed, they will find a way to fail. I heard Mike Tyson talk about once. I forget who he was being interviewed by, but I've seen a lot of Mike Tyson interviews. It might have been in his own documentaries or one of his books or something like that. But Mike talked about how at the peak of his career, when he was making all this money and doing his thing, Mike said, I still had the mentality of a person from the slums, the mentality of a person from the projects. And he said, if you put me in like the nicest 5-star hotel anywhere in the world, I don't care if it's a city I've never been to before in my life, I could find the slums and the ghetto of that town where all the drug addicts and the pimps and the prostitutes are at, because I had the sensibility of those type of people. I could always find that area in any city, even if I've never been there before in my life. I'm telling you that to tell you this. Mike Tyson was explaining the mentality that he still had in him, despite the fact that on the surface he had all this success. Internally, he still had this other mentality from where he came from. He still had that deeply ingrained in him. And that's why, despite the fact that he created so much success and was probably the most popular and the most dominant and highest paid athlete in the world at a certain point, he found a way to fuck all that up and send himself back to the bottom to where he had to kind of rebuild himself. And Mike Tyson has gone as far as to even admit this in his own work. And it's the same thing with people who I'm describing here today as losers. One of their habits is they sabotage their success. You put them in a successful situation, they will screw it up. Why? Because they don't have a choice. This is what losers do. Their mentality will bring them to where they belong. So if you want to know what somebody's really about in life, just watch them over the years. You don't have to watch them day by day. Just watch them over the years. Every year, just check on them, see how they're doing, see where they're headed, how they look, where they're going, who they're around, who they're associating with, what they're talking about, what they're paying attention to, what are their habits. All right, you'll see. Winners will always find a way to win. Winners will find a way to create success in their lives in the long run, always, guaranteed. And losers will do the opposite. There is no counterpoint to this law right here. This is a law, what I just gave you right here. Who you are will be reflected in what you do, and what you do will be reflected in what you have as a result. Don't be mad at losers for having the mentality of sabotaging their own success. If you ever known anybody who sabotages their success, don't get mad at them, because, listen, they can only do what their habits are forcing them to do. All right, you are a reflection of your habits. Your habits control you. And your habits change only when you choose to change them. You must make your habits conscious, because habits are unconscious by definition. That's why they're habits. You do them without thinking about them. The only way you can change your habits, i.e. change your employees, is to become conscious of what your habits are doing to and for you, or not doing to and for you, and then changing them. But until they become conscious, you can't do anything about them. My book, The Mental Workbook, goes into detail on how to change your habits and how you can actively, every single day, work on changing your habits. If you want to do that, get the Mental Workbook by going to workonyourgame.com. Point number 4, today's topic, once again, the 4 deadly habits of losers. Losers associate with other losers and tolerate their presence, despite the fact that they know they're dealing with losers. Mike Tyson talked about this as well. He said, I would be hanging around these people who I know weren't shit. These people who I know were going in the wrong direction. The type of people who I shouldn't be hanging with based on the level of success I have in my life, but I just kept staying around them anyway. I was self-sabotaging. I was sabotaging my own success. Because a loser is comfortable losing, they want to be around other people who have the same mentality. All right, the law of association, people. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. You are the company you keep. If you want to be on a winning team, it is your responsibility to stay away from losing people. If you want to be a loser, go find losers and hang around them. They will welcome you with open arms. When you see a person who appears to be a loser, you think somebody's a loser in life, just see how comfortable they feel around you. That'll tell you a whole lot about how the world is seeing you. If a loser feels comfortable when you come around, then there should be alarm bells going off in your mind. And if winners seem to be uncomfortable with you coming around, there should be alarm bells going off in your mind. So assess people. Look at the people in your life and assess who's the winners, who's the losers. How does that person feel when you call them and they pick up the phone? Do they seem excited to talk to you? If that is a winner who's excited to talk to you when you call, you should feel good. If you call a loser, a person that you know is a loser, and they're excited when you call, all right, that's a problem. All right, because the loser should be uncomfortable when you call. And I don't mean consciously uncomfortable, but just unconsciously uncomfortable because they know that you and them are not on the same wavelength. You get what I'm saying here? If you want to be a winner in life, you need to surround yourself with winners. If you want to be a loser, hang around losers. Simple as that. And understand, this law of association doesn't have to be people you know in person. I know we've been locked down over the last year plus, depending on where you live, maybe more or less, or your sensibilities, maybe more or less. Listen, virtually, you can hang around winners and losers. Who are you following on social media? Whose shows are you listening to? What YouTube videos are you watching? What kind of music are you listening to? What books are you reading? Who are you being influenced by? You don't even have to have met the person ever in your life. Are you being influenced by losers, or are you being influenced by winners? Are you hanging around people who are talking about things like what we're talking about here today? How to stay away from losers, the law of association, how to be a winner, where are your habits, how to change your habits, what are you thinking about, who are you being as a person? How many people are you hanging around who are talking about this stuff? How many people are you watching or subscribed to or listening to or reading their stuff who's talking about this kind of stuff? You should have a few. I shouldn't be the only one. You think about that as we recap today's topic, which is the 4 deadly habits of losers. Point number 1, losers expect to lose. They see themselves as victims, so even when things are going well, they are already thinking about when it will go bad. What you think about, you create. Losers climb a mountain but don't want to reach the peak of the mountain because they heard it's going to be hard when they get to the peak, so they self-sabotage and find ways to never get to the top despite the fact that they're doing all the work, or at least they appear to. And then when they fail, point number 2, losers feel more comfortable being a victim than being a conqueror. You put a victim in a dark situation, they lay there, shrivel up, and die and get eaten. You put a conqueror in the dark, they find the light. Why is this? What's the difference between the two of them? Is it skill? No. Is it talent? Hell no. Is it resources? Absolutely not. Difference is just the way they see themselves. Losers want to lose, so you put them in a tough situation and they will stay there because they want to be a loser. Put a winner in a tough situation, they will find a way to win. It does not matter what the situation is. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Point number 3, losers sabotage their own success. Because a loser is comfortable losing, you put them in a good space, they will find a way to fuck it up and make it worse. Don't be mad at them for fucking it up. They can only do what their habits are forcing them to do. You want to change your habits, get the mental workbook, again at workonyourgame.com. Habits change only when you choose to change them. And number 4, losers associate with other losers. The law of association. You want to know if someone's a loser or not, look at their friends. You want to know if someone's a winner, look at their friends. And you want to know if you're a loser or a winner, call somebody who you know is a loser and see how they feel about you calling. Then call somebody you know who's a winner and see how they feel about you. That'll tell you everything you need to know about what you're doing right now, who you're being as a person. And if you want to change that being or solidify it, make sure you get your copy of the Mirror of Motivation at mirrorofmotivation.com. Send me a text. Tell me what habit you need to check yourself on from what you heard here today. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre, all